The incident took 40 seconds. Marcus Webb, no relation to the Marcus Webb in Aurora, just a man with a common name and an uncommon patience, had been driving for Meridian Executive Transport for 4 years. He had, in those 4 years, driven approximately 3,000 individual trips. Executives, board members, visiting clients, occasional celebrities attending events at the convention center. He had driven all of them with the same quality: on time, clean vehicle, correct route, no conversation unless conversation was invited. He had learned early in his driving career that the best service was invisible service, the kind that gets you where you are going without requiring you to be aware of being transported, the kind that does not impose itself. He was good at this. His rating on the company's internal platform was 4.97 out of 5, which his dispatcher Marcus Chen, another Marcus, this was just a coincidence, described as the highest sustained rating in the company's 10-year history. On a Tuesday morning in March, Marcus Webb drove a man named Richard Colton from the Marriott on 17th Street to the Hartfield Tower on 16th and Glenarm. The drive was 4 minutes. In those 4 minutes, Richard Colton spoke on his phone for 3 of them, ignored the traffic update Marcus offered in the first 30 seconds, and, when Marcus took Glenarm instead of 16th due to a construction closure that had been in effect for 2 weeks, said loudly enough to be heard clearly, "These people can never find the direct route, every single time." He said it to his phone, as if Marcus were not there. Then the car stopped at Hartfield Tower, and Richard Colton got out without a word and walked into the building. That was the 40 seconds. Marcus sat in the car outside Hartfield Tower for a moment after Richard Colton went through the doors. He was not, by any measure, a man given to reaction. He had been raised by a woman named Gloria Webb, his grandmother, who had raised him after his parents died in a car accident when he was 7. Who had believed with the intensity of long personal experience that the way you respond to the people who disrespect you says more about you than anything they have said. She had told him this many times. He had believed her many times. Some days it was easier than others. This was not one of the easier days. He sat for a moment. He breathed. He updated the trip log on his dispatch tablet. He pulled back into traffic and drove toward his next pickup. He did not give Richard Colton a bad rating. He gave him 5 stars because the trip had been completed correctly and Marcus Webb did not allow one passenger's behavior to corrupt his own standards. He told no one about the 40 seconds. He did not know that someone had already seen them. Her name was Catherine Hartfield. She was 61 years old and had been the CEO of Hartfield Industries, the company whose name was on the tower Richard Colton had just entered, for 22 years. She had built the company from the regional manufacturing firm her father had left her into a diversified industrial holding company with operations in 7 states and a reputation for the kind of operational excellence that does not come from systems alone, but from the specific culture of people who are expected to do their work well and are treated accordingly. She had been walking out of Hartfield Tower at the moment Richard Colton had been walking in. She had been on the sidewalk, 5 feet from the car. She had heard the 40 seconds clearly. She had watched Marcus Webb sit quietly for a moment after Colton went through the doors. She had watched him update his tablet. She had watched him pull back into traffic. She had noted the car's company insignia, Meridian Executive Transport, and the license plate. Then she had gone back inside and called her assistant. "Find out who drives that car," she said. "I want his name, and I want to know who his next scheduled pickup is for this building." Richard Colton was a regional vice president at Hartfield Industries. He had been with the company for 9 years and had arrived through a combination of genuine competence and a particular talent for managing upward, at a position that gave him authority over 3 facilities and a team of 46 people. He was not a bad man in the large sense. He was a man who had developed, through years of accumulating the specific small permissions that organizational hierarchy grants, a habit of not seeing certain categories of people, not consciously, not deliberately, in the way that habits of perception develop when they are never challenged, gradually, completely, until the unseeing feels like simply how things are. He had said what he said in the car without thinking about it. He would not have been able to recall the exact words an hour later. He had moved on to the next thing before the car door closed. Catherine Hartfield had not moved on. Marcus Webb's next scheduled pickup from Hartfield Tower was at 2:00 p.m. A return trip for a different executive, a routine booking. He arrived at 1:55 p.m. and pulled to the designated pickup point at the building's side entrance. At 1:57 p.m., a woman knocked on the passenger side window. He lowered it. "Are you Marcus Webb?" the woman said. He looked at her. She was in her 60s, with the specific quality of someone who is accustomed to being in charge and does not need to signal it. "Yes," he said. "My name is Catherine Hartfield," she said. "I own this building. I was on the sidewalk this morning when you dropped off a passenger from the Marriott. I would like to speak with you if you have a few minutes before your pickup." Marcus looked at her. "All right," he said. She got into the passenger seat. Tell us in the comments where in the world you are listening to this story from. If HeartLine Stories has moved you, please like, subscribe, and share this channel. Every subscriber tells us to keep bringing stories like this. Now, back to the conversation in that car, because what Catherine Hartfield said in the next 10 minutes was not what Marcus Webb was expecting to hear. "I heard what was said to you this morning," Catherine said. "I want you to know I heard it, and I want to apologize on behalf of my company, because the person who said it works for me." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You do not need to apologize for someone else's behavior," he said. "No," Catherine said, "but I am choosing to, because that person represents my company when he is in a car arranged through our corporate account, and because what he said was wrong, and someone should say so." Marcus looked at the building entrance. "It was 40 seconds, he said. 40 seconds matter," Catherine said. A pause. "I want to ask you something," she said, "and I want you to understand that you are under no obligation to answer, and that your answer will not affect your relationship with Meridian Transport or with this company's account." "All right," Marcus said. "You are a 4.97 rated driver," she said, "in 4 years. I looked it up this morning. I was curious about what kind of person sits quietly for a moment after being treated that way and then gives a 5-star rating." Marcus looked at her. "How did you know about the rating?" he said. "I called Meridian Transport and asked," she said. "I told them I wanted to recognize an exemplary driver and that I needed his performance record." Marcus said nothing. "Where were you before this?" Catherine said. "Before driving." He was quiet for a moment. This was not a question people asked him. Not passengers, not the dispatcher, not the company when they hired him. "I was in operations management," he said. "I ran a regional distribution network for a logistics company in Fort Collins for 6 years. They were acquired, and the role was eliminated." "What kind of operations?" "Multi-site, 12 facilities, workforce planning, route optimization, vendor relationships, performance systems. We moved from 87% on-time delivery to 94% in the first 18 months. Catherine looked at him. "Why are you driving?" she said. "Because it was available," he said. "And because it pays correctly and I do it well." "You have been doing it for 4 years." "Yes." "Have you been looking for operations work?" "For 2 years," he said. "The market contracted when the company was acquired. There were many people from the same acquisition looking for the same roles. I have had interviews. Nothing has resolved." He said this without complaint. As information. Catherine looked at him for a long moment. She did not offer him a job in that car. She was too careful a person to do that. Too aware of the difference between a response to an emotional moment and a considered decision, and too respectful of both the moment and the decision to conflate them. She said, "I would like to have a more formal conversation with you. Not today. I want to speak with my operations director first. Would you be open to a call next week?" "Yes," Marcus said. She gave him a card. her direct card, not the main corporate line. She got out of the car. Then she turned back. "Mr. Webb," she said. He looked at her. "Thank you for the way you handled this morning," she said. "Both parts of it." He looked at her. "Which parts?" "The part in the car," she said, "and the 5-star rating." The conversation with her operations director happened on a Friday. His name was Thomas Reyes, and he had been with Hartfield Industries for 11 years and had the quality of someone who has built genuinely good operational systems and is always looking for the person who understands why they are good rather than just how they work. Thomas called Marcus on a Monday. The call lasted 40 minutes. Thomas called Catherine on Tuesday morning. "He is exceptional," Thomas said. "I do not say that about many people." He described his Fort Collins operations performance improvement in terms that were architecturally identical to the problem we have been trying to solve in the Southwest region for 18 months. He was not performing. He was just describing what he did. Catherine nodded. "Make him an offer," she said. The offer was made on a Thursday. Regional Operations Manager, Southwest Division, Hartfield Industries. Salary that was 40% above what Marcus had been earning in Fort Collins before the acquisition. Benefits: a team of 23. Marcus accepted on a Friday. He called his grandmother Gloria that evening. She answered on the third ring, which was fast for her. She kept the phone at the other end of the house because she had decided that a phone in your immediate vicinity trained you to be available rather than present. "Something happened," Marcus said. "Good something or bad something," she said. "Good," he said. "Very good." He told her. She was quiet for a long moment. "How did it start?" she said. He thought about the 40 seconds. About a 4-minute drive and a man on a phone and the words said as if he were not there. About sitting for a moment afterward and breathing and pulling back into traffic and giving 5 stars. "Someone saw something that should not have happened," he said, "and decided to do something about it." Gloria was quiet for another moment. "That is the way it works sometimes," she said. "Someone sees something wrong and decides it is their business. Most people decide it is not." "Yes," Marcus said. "And you," she said. "You sat there and breathed and gave 5 stars." "Yes." "Why?" He thought about it. "Because he was not going to tell me who I was," Marcus said. "That was always mine." Gloria was quiet. "Yes," she said. "That was always yours." Richard Colton was not fired. Catherine had considered it and had decided against it, for reasons she was specific about when Thomas raised the question. Firing him would have been satisfying and would have accomplished less than what she chose instead. She met with Richard personally. She described what she had witnessed using the specific words he had said. She watched his face as she described them, watched him understand, from the expression of a person who had genuinely not thought about what he had said after he said it, that the words had been heard and had been specific and were now being returned to him in full. She told him that what he had said was a reflection of a habit of perception that produced, in the people around him, an experience of working for someone who did not see them. She told him this cost him more than he knew. She told him she expected it to change. She did not tell him what she had done afterward. That was not his to know. She told him one more thing. "That driver," she said, "is going to be our Southwest Operations Manager. I want you to think about that the next time you are in a car." Marcus Webb started at Hartfield Industries on the first Monday of April. He drove himself to work on the first morning, in his own car, which he had maintained with the same care he brought to everything. He parked in the employee lot. He walked into the building. He went to the 14th floor where his office was. His office with his name on a placard beside the door, a placard he stood in front of for a moment before going in. He thought about Gloria, about the specific lesson she had given him the most times, in the most different ways across his entire life. The way you respond to the people who disrespect you says more about you than anything they have said. He thought about a 4-minute drive in March and 40 seconds he had not chosen to let define him. He thought about a woman who had been 5 feet away on a sidewalk and had decided it was her business. He opened the door. He sat down at his desk. He looked at the operations reports Thomas had left him, the Southwest Region's performance data, the team structure, the 18 months of challenge that Thomas had described as architecturally identical to what Marcus had solved before. He recognized the problem immediately. He picked up a pen. He began. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that how you carry yourself in the smallest moments is never truly unseen, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you have a story of your own, write to us at HeartLineStories4d@gmail.com. Every heart has a story worth telling. This is HeartLine Stories, where yours matters.